Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod, here to rank the Big Brother 27 players based on how I feel they're doing in the game as of the end of Week eight's Thursday night eviction episode. Before I dive in, I put a link to my BB27 playlist for all my recaps and rankings. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing, and use my link to try Paramount Plus for free. This week saw regularly barefoot Keanu rise to power, nominating Mickey, Vince, and Morgan, and was replaced on the block with Ashley. When Vince won the blockbuster, Mickey was evicted by a vote of 6-1. Firstly, we lost Mickey here, who last week I put 6th. I felt like she had enough connections to the Rachel side of the house that she could have maybe survived a vote. She did all the usual moves this week, getting nominated, crying dry tears to the HOH, following bad leads in the game, lying about random things like saying she was born in 1998 when she's 35, and lying about being personal friends with T-Core and having a T-Core hat. She's been stuck in the wrong gear in the game for a few weeks now, and had she stayed, I expect she would have rode the bottom, not knowing she was on the bottom. In the end, she wasn't going to survive a vote against either opponent. So let's get to these rankings. In ninth, last place is Kelly, who last week was 10th. She was in last, and her ally Keanu won HOH, which kept her safe, but she seriously does nothing with her time. We're about to have mass evictions, double, triple homicides, and she's the most expendable person in there. There are only 3 people, 4 if I'm being generous, who want to keep her around, and the people on her side are way more loyal to each other than they are to her. I can see a path for everyone else to make it to the end and maybe win, but right now, not Kelly. Even if she makes a move, she would have to put up 2 people on Rachel's side, even Rachel, who are all very protective of each other, so even a big move pisses off basically the entire jury. At least she voted right this week, but that's not enough to get her to move up in my list. In 8th, I have Keanu, who last week was 9th. Keanu wins the HOH, should have thrown it to Kelly, who would have targeted his enemies, and even taken the shot at Rachel that Keanu wants to have happen, but he needed to win this HOH. He decides to target Morgan. I think that was a fair choice. Morgan is in Vince's head, she's influencing Vince to do things that go against Keanu, and nominating Vince alongside her takes away a guaranteed vote for her to stay, and someone who would save her. Those things make sense, but acting like nominating Vince was punishment to teach him a lesson is a bit of a stretch. He has some creative strategy in trying to trick Morgan into using the veto on Vince, then switching out the nominees. He even got Morgan to think about it, which is wild. His biggest mistake was the Ashley nomination. It wasn't worth pissing off Rachel and losing an ally. He might as well have just nominated Rachel at that point. Doing Ashley when Ashley wasn't going anywhere, instead of Ava, who I think was the right choice to nominate, was such a half measure that wasn't even worth it. He's again fighting multiple times in public spaces and being branded a narcissist and misogynist, all of which are obviously not good. With all that said, he still has some actual allies in the game, which is enough to put him above Kelly. In 7th, I have Vince, who last week I had 5th. It baffles me that he was nominated by Keanu, and somehow it also made sense. It was all the weeks of being selfish coming back to bite him. The truth is, he's been walking all over Keanu and making moves left and right that leave Keanu on the outs just to benefit his own game. He spends the week sulking, crying, and hugging Morgan. Had Mickey won the blockbuster, which she almost did, he would have gone home this week. And I am gonna dock him for behavior. Firstly, the other house guests have clocked that he's cheating on his girlfriend of 7 years. They're weirded out by it. How is that gonna help you in a jury vote? They're losing respect for him by the day, for him being a weenie. Now he's a weenie and a floozy, and you know he's a cheat because his girlfriend came out and said this isn't cool, and she removed him as a follower on Instagram. So his actions are not benefiting him in the game, and he's also making bad moves in the game of life. No job, no girlfriend, nominated this week. In 6th, I have Lauren, who last week was 8th. I'm so bored with her. She's such a passive player. If she just worked on her relationship with the other side of the house, she'd be in such a great spot, but she doesn't. She picked a lock and found a hiding spot for her hide and go veto, which was the one thing that had me saying, ooh la la, but then she told selfish rat Vince about her hiding spot. Why? I'm tempted to put Lauren in last, but at least she's not playing badly. She's just doing nothing, and she's capable enough in competitions to still make a dent in the game. She had a campaign against her to get her on the block this week, but she didn't go up, and she remains the only other player besides Rachel to not be nominated, which is awesome. Now that they're in jury, we may see a different side to Lauren that's a bit more open to risk, but I doubt it. In 5th, I have Ava, who last week was 7th, another player whose game bores me. She sleeps all day and has a frankly leave me out of it mentality. Sometimes it's effective. She avoids getting dragged into messy situations and doesn't react when things go wrong. For example, Keanu tells Ava that her allies are suggesting her as a nominee. She takes the information, doesn't impulsively react, says no big deal. With that said, it's true, her allies were suggesting her as a nominee, though on that block, she wouldn't have gone home. She's in a spot where she has a lot of protection, though I'm not sure how far that protection goes. Her allies are doing things not including her or telling her about it, which makes me worried for her coming into the Mastermind's month of madness. In 4th, I have Rachel, who last week was 4th. Her surviving Keanu's HOH week after he was dead set on targeting her last week needs to be studied. She had to work so hard to keep Keanu in control. She's been working out and studying, preparing for this final stretch, and I so badly want to see her succeed. I'm worried for her coming to this craziness. Players like Morgan, who have been saving Rachel for jury, might actually take the shot and make her the first juror, which would be sad but not surprising given them talking about it for a while and her being so insecure about that very thing happening. She has so much opposition, but if she can dismantle the other side of the house, she's in a great spot heading into the endgame. Now's the time for all the cough drops she's been counting to come in handy. In third, I have Ashley, who last week was third. Ashley has great reads on the game, though having Keanu saying he basically loathes her isn't good, and she ended up being the replacement nom. I'll give her credit for surviving the vote near unanimously, but so far in the game, she hasn't done much. I have her above Rachel because I feel like she could slip by a bit further doing less than Rachel. There's more room for error, though I really want to see her do what she's been saying she would. She told us she's been laying low and playing dumb, and she's going to turn it on at jury, show everyone what she's really made of. I'm here for it. In second, I have Morgan, who last week was first. She played pretty consistently this week. She's playing both sides, which isn't working on Keanu, who targeted her, but Keanu can't play in the next HOH. Morgan finally won something, a veto where she was on the block and saved herself, though I don't know if she was in any real danger. Like I said earlier, the hugging stuff is weird, but I guess it's part of her character of just being horny for hugs. Slight knock for seeming to really consider not using the veto on herself, which is just dumb always. I'm still confident in her abilities, though I think this relationship with Vince has potential to be her undoing. Moving on to first, we're breaking this up starting with 1C, where I have T-Core. T-Core left such a lasting impact. Mickey's out here lying about buying her hat, which ended up being free promotion for her business, but it was also free promotion for Shane. In 1B, I'm putting Angela, another BB26 standout. Angela has a past of crashing out over charcuterie. She turned that trauma into treasure, starting the Charcuterie Protection Agency, one step closer to being a self-made millionaire. But her trainees kind of suck at their job. And finally, in 1A, something I've been wanting to do for weeks, I've got to give Will his flowers. From being someone that people were throwing up on the block early on, to being someone the house is protecting at all costs, he stays pleasant, a shoulder for the others to cry on. He's a great listener, even when he's not really listening, and he's getting more active in the game, which is nice. Coming into some crazy twists, potentially even a triple eviction, I think he's the safest person in the house coming into the situation, so it justifies the number one spot. And I'm actually excited to see him play the second half of the game, where I think he beats everyone in Final 2. I need a Will HOH, and I need it to be a whole week. So those are my rankings for week 8. I'm sure yours are different. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on the week and your rankings? I read and respond to every comment. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next week for more recaps and rankings. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.